In this first video tutorial, I'll talk about how I use ArcGIS to create two landscape blocks around Fall Mountain State Forest, a functional landscape and a regional landscape. Fall Mountain State Forest is a 1,000 acre area. It's been conserved in southwestern New Hampshire. You can see here it's located in the towns of Charleston, Langdon, and Walpole. So in the past, a land manager might only have to consider this property boundary in their planning, but with our broader understanding of ecology, planning can and should take a wider view. The first level of landscape that is considered by the state of New Hampshire land managers is the functional landscape. I'm going to zoom out here. The functional landscape is considered to be the block of land the property falls within that is not fragmented by roads or cleared of its natural cover. To start to get a sense of the functional landscape, I can turn on New Hampshire roads layer. You can start to see this area surrounding Fall Mountain State Forest that might be considered the functional landscape. The functional landscape analysis has already been performed by the state and is available to the public. Other states also have this analysis done, like the state of Vermont, but that data is in a raster format, and so users might want to convert it to polygons depending on their intended use. I'm going to turn on that unfragmented blocks. I'm going to turn off the New Hampshire perimeter in town's boundary so we can get a better look here. So Fall Mountain State Forest is here, and you can see the perimeter of the functional landscape. It follows the area that we had sort of outlined earlier with the roadways. I'm going to select that area using the Select tool. So you can see that Fall Mountain State Forest falls entirely within this one unfragmented block. We can use the Identify tool to learn more about this area. Use the Identify tool. And we can see the total acres. It is 3,837 acres, about 3 times as large as Fall Mountain State Forest. And we might want to use this area later on for some other functions, so it would be helpful to have it as its own polygon layer. So to do that, with the area we're interested in selected as it is, I can go into the table of contents, right-click on Unfragmented Blocks, and go down to Data, and I can export the data to a new shapefile. So I'm going to export the selected features using this layer's source data, and I'm going to put it into a folder I've already created, and we'll call this the functional landscape. And we can add that new layer to our map. I'm going to turn off the other layers we had going. And so now, dragging this down to a logical position, we can see the functional landscape in which Fall Mountain State Forest is located. Now that the functional landscape has been defined, I want to define the regional landscape. The state of New Hampshire often uses an area 10 times as large as the property to represent the regional landscape. A simple way to think about this would be imagine the property of Fall Mountain State Forest as a circle. So to simplify, I'm going to use a 1,000 acre circle, and we can calculate the radius of this circle rather easily, and I can create an example of it in ArcMap. So I've created that beforehand. This would be what Fall Mountain State Forest would look like if we simplified it to a 1,000 acre circle. So to think about 10 times that, we could calculate the radius of a circle that has an area of 10,000 acres. And using that radius, we can create another circle. And I've already done that as well. And that circle would look like this. And so we could add back in the information we had about the state of New Hampshire. And we could consider this area here to be the regional landscape. Although you may want to get more specific than that. And so that's what we'll do in the next step. Really, the best way to create a more accurate shape would be the buffer tool. In ArcMap, the buffer tool allows you to expand out a line a certain distance along its entire perimeter. Unfortunately, the regular buffer tool has limitations, so we'll use the buffer wizard instead. If you've not added the buffered wizard to your toolbar, you can do that easily by going up to Customize, Toolbars, down to Customize again, and in the commands prompt we can search for buffer wizard, and you could grab this and drag it to your toolbar. You can see I've already got it there, and so I'm not going to perform that step. In order to use the buffer wizard, we're going to have to know how much larger of an area around the boundary of Fall Mountain State Forest we want to create. And so if we take the radius 10,000 acre circle minus the radius of our 1,000 acre circle, we're going to get a radius of just over 8,000 feet. And we're going to use that number as we head to the buffer wizard. Click on the buffer wizard, and the feature layer we're interested in is the Fall Mountain boundary. The specified distance that I want to create my buffer is 8,052 feet. That was calculated by using those two radiuses of the hypothetical circles. And I can put my units feet right down here. And then I would like to dissolve the barriers between my buffers. And I'm going to create a new shapefile here. We're going to put that in the same folder. And we're going to call it regional buffer. And you see that I've selected previously that only the outside of the polygon will be buffered and the inside will also be included. That's the option that's selected. So now we've created a regional buffer. This has a slightly more realistic shape to our property boundary than the circle did. And I'm going to change the symbology here so it's a little easier for us to look at. Use a nice color green. Now you'll notice that the buffer we've just created, like the circle that we created earlier, extends outside of the state of New Hampshire. Now normally political boundaries don't really impact the landscape in the way that wildlife or water sees it, but in this particular instance, the boundary between the states of New Hampshire and Vermont happens to be the Connecticut River, and so it's a fairly functional boundary, and so we'll want to constrain our regional analysis to just inside the state of New Hampshire. And so using the geoprocessing clip tool, we're going to use the New Hampshire perimeter, you can drag that over here, to clip the regional buffer that we just created. And we'll put this into the same folder as the other layers that we've been working on, and we'll call it regional buffer clip. We'll wait for that to process, and the end result will be that we'll have an area surrounding Fall Mountain State Forest that we could consider to be the regional landscape, clipped to the boundaries of the state of New Hampshire. And if we go into our attributes here, we can find out the exact area of this by adding a field. We'll call it area, and we would like it to be a. And now that we've created this new field, we can calculate geometry for it. And it's going to use the coordinate system over layer, and we'd like it to be in acres. And so there we go. We've got an area of 9,947 acres, just about 10 times the size of Fall Mountain State Forest. So we've now created, I'm going to change the symbology on this as well, just for the ease of viewing, and turn off this old regional buffer. We've now created 2 new buffers around Fall Mountain State Forest. The functional landscape that includes the unfragmented area surrounding the Fall Mountain State Forest, and then our regional landscape area, which is 10 times as large, using the buffered wizard. So I hope that this was useful for those of you watching, and the next video tutorial will be about how to use these 2 different landscape contexts to look at water and wildlife resources surrounding Fall Mountain State Forest.